Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host Keegan, and this is your recovery-focused podcast. Uh, to bear with me because you might have a little bit of an impromptu episode really coming up because boy, oh boy, I did not fucking expect this turn of events, and at the same time, I kind of did. I know I'm live on my channel. Thanks, watch, but that's kind of the thing, right? Like I had a feeling that this kind of sort of might happen. And at the same time, I had absolutely no idea this would happen. You know what I mean? I'm sure you can at least somewhat relate. And I don't know about you, but you ever been like really disowned by your parents? Like they give you a scrapbook of your first 7 years of life? Yeah, interesting. Anyways, so what I'm kind of wanting to talk about is whenever we're just kind of stuck with like, who the hell are we? And where do we go from here? So that's the thing is sometimes a lot of our identity is formed whenever we're really, really young, right? It's like sometimes you may not even remember how young you really were whenever you had some of these thoughts and ideas placed into your head unwillingly that have really just kind of, well, maybe fucked you over one way or another in some regards that you may want to change now. And don't get me wrong, a lot of us have things that aren't great, and a lot of us have things that are exceptional. But sometimes those exceptional things are buried underneath the grime and dirt of those other things that we didn't really choose to put there, but it just kind of happened. And what I mean by that is, well, trauma responses are survival adaptations, they're maladaptive. Now, what that means is that we adapted. Great. That's awesome. We adapted. We learned how to survive. Isn't that what people are supposed to do? Kind of, sort of. But the thing with maladaptive is that it's really kind of counterproductive in a lot of ways. Now, now it's kind of like how do you be adaptive but in the worst possible way? And it's because some things just don't really work out the best way. What we can look at for one instance is like fire, right? Because fire is, it transmutes things, it burns things, it makes things to ash, breaks them back down to carbon. But to us, it doesn't really seem like it's doing a whole lot of good. It can provide warmth, it can cook things for us, and so on and so forth. The uses of fire are almost, well, I wouldn't say endless, but we found a lot of different things to turn heat good for. To, you know what I mean? We've found a lot of ways to utilize heat, and sometimes we just kind of have to deal with the aftermath of that. Now, it's not necessarily good. We can't do a whole lot with that kind of ash and carbon stuff, but we also can at the same time. But the thing is, a lot of our maladaptive things are like a fire. They just kind of burn whatever we're trying to survive from. And a lot of the times we end up burning ourselves too, and those around us. So it's kind of silly because, like, for example, one of my, not one of, the biggest maladaptive trait that I had whenever I was in my rehab Nehemiah was social isolation. Hmm, interesting. I don't even think it was called that. I don't think I have the paper anymore. I wish I did because it was pretty bad, but it was like a whopping 98%. And my personality is extrovert. So, how does that make sense? How does someone like me that is an extrovert get maladaptive to the point to where social isolation and wanting to withdraw from anything and everyone is what I did to survive? Well, that's just kind of the thing. Growing up, I loved talking to people. I love talking to adults about adult things like philosophy and just whys and hows and everything like that. I couldn't tell you exactly what some of those conversations were nowadays, but I remember being told that I was talking waves like I just not where a kid should be talking, or especially about certain subjects. I don't know. Can't really remember all of it too much. I've hit my head a lot. I've drank a lot of alcohol since then. Hence why retrieving sanity's here, because we're trying to get back to before the crap happened, right? Anyways, I digress. So the thing is, whenever you're growing up, or I was growing up, I loved talking. I loved being active. I loved asking questions. I was super duper curious. I always wanted to know more and why, and the why to the why, and the how to the how, and the why, so on and so forth. It was never ending. In fact, I can still go on and on and on. But there's a part of me that actually tells myself to shut up because I'm asking too many questions. Maybe because I won't remember it all and it's maybe not useless. Maybe it's not useful in the future for whatever weird reason, or maybe it could be. But you see, that little voice in my head that says, stop learning, stop. You don't need that. It's not good for you, is the voice that came in to save the day whenever I was little. Because whenever I was little, again, I was talkative. I was always looking for more. I was wanting to do so much more. And yet, I was told, it's too much. I'm too much. Stop moving. Stop breathing so loud. Now, if you're saying, what do you mean by that? Watch this. That's just me breathing. That's not me trying to exaggerate anything. In fact, there's some person in school that, again, I got in quote unquote trouble for. We just got done taking the tax test, and I'm sitting there just trying to mind my breathing. Mind you, I actually had my hands over my nose like this, trying to mitigate how much noise I was making. And I was still too loud for the person sitting in front of me. And she turned around and yelled at my face to shut the fuck up and stop breathing so loud. So, and guess what? I was also told that by Jared, my father. So that also really fucking sucked. And ever since then, I've learned how to really be really quiet, especially with the microphone right here. Like, I've learned how to do breathing a little bit different, but not in the bad way, but it's for the mic so that it's easier for me to edit and y'all don't have to worry about wheezing and weird noises and so on and so forth. I digress. But the thing is, this is what I'm talking about. Whenever someone is small, young, impressionable, they and curious, really, and they're told to stop. Well, obviously, if I'm told to stop by the people that are supposed to care for or teach me how to live in this world, well, obviously I'm wrong. I'm doing something wrong. I didn't do something right. And I just wanted to kind of be, and this is one of those things that you can't fight that kind of feeling whenever you're young because you don't really know heads from tails. We're children, we're toddlers, or so on and so forth. And the thing is, like, even into being a teenager and stuff, hell, even into my early 20s, I could say that I still didn't know what the hell I was talking about or thinking in a lot of regards. But that's the thing, is that I never learned how to actually stick up for myself. I never learned how to self advocate. I never learned how to say, just be me. Every time that I had to be me, I was still acting because me was bad. Me was always getting in trouble. Me was always getting yelled at. Me was always doing something that my parents didn't like. And well, shit, that kind of sucks. So, what do you do with that? Well, you change who you are, or do you? Do you try? So it's kind of it's like, what do you do with that? And for me, I didn't really grow up with an identity. It was always like, I'm a punk rocker, skateboarder, I don't know ish, ninja, who knows? I'm a whatchamacallit. It's basically what it was. I fit into everything and nothing all at the same time. And that it may seem like it's a cool skill, but being a chameleon really leaves me with a lot of nothing for myself because every single social interaction was going through filters in my head of, is this appropriate? Yes or no? Okay, well, how much is it appropriate if yes? And if no, immediately disregard that. But a lot of the times, that was the same thought that would come back around and around and around and around, trying to get out. And a lot of the times, it wasn't even necessarily a thought. A lot of the times, it was a feeling, and I didn't know how to express those. And well, whenever you don't know how to express things, you just kind of have to move and get it out, right? You're like, I'm anxious. But that's the thing, is that what do you do whenever you're young? You don't know words to describe what's going on in the inner landscape. Maybe your parents don't even know what it's like to have an inner landscape that is dictated by all these mean things that are telling you that you're wrong for simply existing. Now, I know that some of y'all can really relate to that. I just, it's wrong to be alive. It's wrong to be me. What the hell? Like, who says that? And if you're wondering that, to that little voice in your head, I'm telling it for you to fuck off and shut up and just let you be you. Because holy hell, that voice is annoying as hell and it's not you. Just so you know, it may sound like you, but if you really listen to it, if you really pay attention, it's not you. In fact, if you ask what its name is, it's probably not even going to tell you your name. It may actually say the name of the person that you got that idea from in the first place. Now, I can't say that this is going to work for everyone, but that's just kind of how it is. Everyone's healing journey and identity journey essentially is different because shit, if we were all the same person, this would be boring as hell. And we wouldn't be in the situation that we'd be in because, well, all is one and one is all kind of thing, but in the really weird macroscopic, microscopic way. So, again, I digress. What do we do with ourselves whenever we don't really know where to go? Well, I mean, the best place really is to look back on the inside because we really do know a lot of our own answers, even if we feel like we don't. And the thing is that we were taught to not listen to ourselves. We were taught to not advocate for ourselves because, well, I'm obviously wrong because parents or grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, what have you, say otherwise. And they're older. They know better. They have more life experience. So I can trust them. They only want the best for me, right? Yeah, right. So if you've learned some weird programs, and I'm also going to stop saying weird as a bad thing because weird is not bad at all. In fact, weird is awesome. It's a compliment. It means that you're creating your own fate, your own destiny. It means that you're taking charge of your life. And so if someone calls you weird, look at them with a smile, give them two thumbs up and say, fuck yeah. And then keep going, do your thing. And then just be more weird because, I mean, if it bothered them, they're not your tribe. So, who knows? Just don't go out of your way to offend them, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But whenever we're sitting there and we're looking at these odd programs that were given to us, we really have to dissect like where did it come in handy? How long did it come in handy? And is it still coming in handy? Like, is it actually useful or is it just something that's kind of keeping me stuck in the rut? And I'm looking to change things. Now, here we go. Rut. What does that mean? I know a lot of us can sit there and be like, just doing the same old, and we're just getting, where the hell are we going? Oh no. So yeah, that's the rut. We just keep doing the same fucking thing until we end up digging a hole for ourselves, and it just looks like we're living life, and we just call it the rat race. But really, a rut is resisting the urge to transform. I'll say that again, resisting the urge to transform or transmute if you want. Now, I learned this from a spiritual teacher back in the day, and I wish I still talked to her. But that was the thing is that I was like, what do you mean by rut? I was like, resisting the urge to transform. Where am I trying to transform to? And I was always thinking that it was something on the outside. I was always thinking that transforming was like a butterfly, it's like a caterpillar to a butterfly after the chrysalis, and it's like, woo! But that's not really the case because on the outside, we almost always look the same. A lot of us may get piercings. A lot of us may dye our hair. We may even shave it off. We may even just do all sorts of weird things with our clothes just to find a sense of self agency. Now, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. In fact, I highly recommend and encourage people to do this because one, it serves as a warning label to those who are not your tribe that, hey, you may not like what you deal with. And then two, it helps you find a tribe that's like, hey, y'all are my people. What's up? So be you, express yourself through the things that you wear and just show off to the world because that is the inner landscape speaking out. Now, a lot of us like to think that, oh, the dark and gloomy stuff is all bad. Y'all just don't understand it. And that's the thing is like, how do you make someone understand that? You don't. You can tell them your story, you can tell them your perspective on it, but you're not going to sit there and make someone just automatically shift unless they're sitting there wondering and curious about it for themselves for some time too. But whenever we're talking about transformation, in the sense of like the caterpillar to the butterfly. We really just got to sit there and think it's all about our inner landscape. Now, for a lot of us, whenever we get these programs, we're young, we don't know better. But the thing is that those feelings are just so damn strong that we don't know what else to do with them because, again, they kept us alive. So they're good, right? They have to be. If they're not, then who the hell am I? And if I'm not who I thought I was, does that mean that I'm still bad because I've been trying to be good this whole time? And no, it doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean I'm bad. It doesn't mean anyone's bad for just going with the programs that they've been given. Now, it can make someone bad if they understand and recognize those patterns and things that are hurting people and they choose to keep doing it. That would make someone a bad person. But a lot of us are unawares to such issues. Now, I'm not saying self awareness is key, but I am saying self awareness is a damn good fucking start to really just kind of getting your shit figured out. Because if you don't know what you're working with, you can't fix it. And I'm not saying fix it as in like make it right. I'm saying fix it as in make you feel like you're whole again. Instead of trying to fill a hole, we want to feel whole, with the W. W. Oh my gosh. I don't know why I decided to say it that way, but I just did. There's my texting for you. Now, anyways, what we can do with this information is understand that really a lot of it does rely on us. It does suck for the sheer fact that we have to know that we may have let ourselves down more so than what we thought. But we can't really sit there and say it that way either because then that just means I'm still bad because I wasn't taking care of myself. And we can't beat ourselves up for not knowing the things that only time can teach us. And a lot of that is those programs that we were given. A lot of those programs are intergenerational trauma. A lot of those programs are trauma responses and so on and so forth, which, again, if anyone chooses to do those things, it's kind of weird. Not weird, it's kind of abnormal. No one likes to do abnormal stuff in the sense of, let me be so obtuse that no one can really correlate. No one, some people want to be unique because they want to stand out from the crowd. Some people want that because that is how they get the attention that they were seeking whenever they were a child. Maybe. I'm just speaking in hypotheticals, uh, hyperboles, what the hell ever you want to call it, because everyone is different. I'm just speaking from personal experiences and what's the other word I'm looking for? Extrapolations and other there's a freaking specific word, but I can't think of it and I'm not going to right now. So you're left with this. We can sit there and do something about it. And it sucks. Don't get me wrong. Healing is not an easy journey. That's why people look for the quick fix. People look for the things that take the edge off, that may just make the day kind of seem a little bit easier in the end. Something to give them the runner's high, to give them a buzz, to really do anything besides just having to think that same thought of, don't do this again because that's bad. Don't do this again because that's it. Bad. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. And then eventually, device comes along or the program kicks in, and we just kind of just fade away for a little bit. And then we come back and we feel worse because, well, honestly, it's we let ourselves down. Whenever those programs come calling, it's actually a sign for us to take a break and pause and reflect and say, what is it about this that made me want to do that? Well, here's a little weird bit for y'all. I don't know if y'all really care for this, but it's part of my story. So here we go. Whenever I was talking to Julian Bermudez on his podcast not too long ago, and we were sitting there, he was asking what I did whenever I was younger to kind of escape reality. And I was like, well, I kind of hate to say it, but masturbation, I found that out at a really young age. I don't know the normal age for that, but for me, I know it was really young. So that's the thing, is that and porn were one of those things that just, it was an escape. It reset my nervous system. It gave me a little bit of adrenaline. It gave me the dopamine, serotonin, all that good feel stuff. It gave it to me. And I craved feeling good as a child because I didn't feel safe growing up. I didn't feel safe growing up since the moment I can remember until, well, literally just not that long ago. And that sucks. I don't want anyone to feel like that. And the thing is, too, is that I'm not sitting there saying that my parents were bad. I'm not sitting there saying that they did me dirty and wrong, this, that, and another, because they were essentially children whenever they had me, too. And so I can't fault them. I'm not even going to fault them for the things that have happened in the last years or whatever, because we're just people. We're just trying to live our own lives. But that's the thing, is that I have to be able to sit there and recognize that it's on me after a certain point to kind of reparent myself, because those same things that made me want to go to a bottle, or things that help me reset my nervous system, those kind of things are telling me, hey, there's something here that needs a little bit of attention. There's something here that needs a little bit closer look. Now, let me stop you right there. Don't hold yourself underneath a microscope. Don't do it. That's bad. Now, if you're wanting to do shadow work, or if you're wanting to do deep dives and psychedelic trips and stuff like that, I would highly recommend speaking to a therapist or something along those lines that deal with that kind of thing. Unless you have that personal experience, by all means, go ahead, do your thing, have fun, do magic. But don't overanalyze yourself to the point of criticism, because if we criticize ourselves, we are telling ourselves the same story that got us messed up in the first place. Now we can sit there and we can lovingly give ourselves guidance. And I think that's kind of one of the things, is that we don't really know the difference between a lot of these things, because criticism is not necessarily sitting there saying you're bad. But whenever we tell ourselves I messed up, or I'm doing poor compared to, then again, we're just telling ourselves the same story. And this time it's coming from ourselves, and it actually hurts a little bit more because we believe it that much more. And maybe that's where we kind of got messed up, is just believing everything that everyone else always tells us. And at the same time, how do we feel safe enough to really go outside of those boundaries and ask questions and be curious about it, if we're told to stay in this little box and not move because that's where it's safe? And then inside this box is where I get love and connection. And that's how I survive, by shrinking and trying to sacrifice myself to make sure other people are okay all the time, and making sure that everyone else's needs are met, and that I just, it would have been better if I didn't exist because other people have to take care of me. And so all of a sudden, I'm a burden, and I'm a burden to myself because I don't even know how to take care of myself. And at the same time, I want nothing but to help people and just learn and explore and have fun. But I can't do that because it's bad, because this society isn't meant for that. So what do I do? And that's kind of where we wound up, deep in alcoholism for about 10 years. And let me tell you, it's not fun. I don't wish that kind of hell on anyone, because if there's such thing as hell, which there is if you choose for it to be, then that's where it is for fucking sure, is in the pits of addiction. Because holy hell, no pun intended, it sucked. I mean, I died. I should have died so many more times, but I'm here. And let me tell you, it sucked. Like, no wonder people decide to pull the cord early for themselves, because it's painful. Whenever you're so disconnected from yourself that you can't even hear yourself anymore, that's where we kind of mess up. That's where a lot of us really don't understand that people are hurting always. We never know what someone else is going through at any point in time. We never know if they're actually healing some super deep trauma wound, and they just happen to be doing an okay day, and they look fine and everything like that, but you could say the wrong thing to them, and it's like, oh, that was the last thing that their grandparents said right before they passed, and blah 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 blah. And you never ever know. And that's kind of the shitty thing, is that, well, how do you navigate life trying to make sure you don't trigger people, but at the same time you take care of yourself? And that's the thing, is that you just take care of yourself. Like, there's the golden and silver rule: do unto others what you would have do unto you, and don't do unto others what you wouldn't have done to yourself. So, like, it's honestly, now if you're sitting there and you're saying, I don't mind doing this to someone, but you would really mind that same thing happening or not happening to you, then maybe don't do that thing. And again, we don't need shame to guide our morals. We don't. Now, if you sit there and say we do, I highly recommend you listen to Emma Lyons and actually do some deep dives into what shame is and isn't. But you're not going to really find a lot of people that sit there and say shame is just bad, because it is. I 100% agree. It is only good for keeping people in line and keeping people in the safety comfort box of other people's zones. So, like, shame on a lot of the people. Sure, sure, shame on them. Sure, but whenever we look at it, anytime that we've been shamed, a lot of the times we may have corrected our behavior in the moment, but didn't we ruminate on it? Didn't we sit there and just go like, "Man, isn't this like the worst thing ever?" And then it's like, I've got to find my people. I've got to find people that validate this feeling I've got, or that otherwise told me I was wrong. Like, that's what shame really does. It just digs a hole deeper into whatever they're getting shamed out of. It doesn't work, because if it did, then a lot of us wouldn't wind up with these trauma responses that we have. Hang on, I need to exit this. Oh my freaking gosh. Shut up. Ugh. I put my do not disturb on one time. I turn it off one time, and then my phone just is, and everything decides to go, hey, we're going to go ahead and do everything. So sorry about that. But that's one of the things, is that I got a little bit mad at myself right there. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, it's the end of the world. Oh, no, the podcast episode's ruined, because we're 30 minutes in and I feel like we're on a pretty good roll. But at the same time, it's been a lot of back and forth, back and forth. But that's kind of the thing, is that how do we look forward if you're telling me to look inward and kind of reflect? Well, that's the tricky thing about life. It's full of paradoxes. In fact, that's one of the spiritual laws I've come across, is that basically everything is a fucking paradox and you better get used to it. And shit just doesn't make sense. So make sense of what you can and just kind of go along with the ride, because it'll all be revealed in due time. Now, that's the thing too, is that we've just got to kind of go with the flow. But what does that look like? It looks different for everyone, because everyone's journey is different. So, whenever I'm saying that we need to do that self awareness, self reflection, figure out what's maybe triggering us to go and spend time with young self, and figure out what they wanted for us to grow up to be. Like, maybe we really did want to be an astronaut. Maybe we wanted to be a police officer. Maybe we wanted to be a firefighter, doctor, dentist. Who knows? Maybe we wanted to do all these different things for different reasons, and we got shamed out of it because, that dream's too big for you. You can't do it. We can't do it. We're poor. Don't listen to that bullshit. Now, that's the thing too, is that there are outside circumstances that do make it really hard to kind of step out of. But again, a lot of these things are influences that are built by other people. Whenever it is our life, we're able to do a lot more. Now, I'm not saying that everything comes hunky dory, okie day. I'm saying that it just, there's a lot of freedom in being able to figure out that, oh shit, I can do this. Hell yeah. So that's what I'm hoping other people are encouraged to do, is look on the inside and say, you know, I really did want to do that, or I really did want to express that. I really did want to blank, and then go and do it now. Because at the same time as we're sitting here pondering what do we do next, we've also discarded so many ideas in the past for one reason or another. And a lot of the times we just listen to the lies that other people decide to tell us. Because again, remember the you can't in your head is not you. It's our default mode. And those are the programs that maybe kept us alive, maybe got us to where we are. But if we're really not happy with certain things in our life, then I would argue that that's also a good time to sit there and say, maybe it's time for change. Because really, life is always changing. You're not the same person that you were whenever you went to sleep last night. You're not the same person tomorrow whenever you wake up from today. And if you think you are, well, I kind of envy that mindset because it's simple. Ignorance is bliss. But whenever you really look at it, we're never the same person moment to moment either. Every breath we take changes us that little. And it just gets magnified time and time and time again every time we do it. It gets compounded, rather. But we can be intentional about it. We can choose where we go, we can choose what we do. And in some senses, it's great. And in some senses, scary as hell. And that scary, that fear, may very well keep us in the same box that we're wanting to get out of. Now, again, this is not easy. It is not something that is like you do this and everything's hunky dory. No, in fact, it's like you do this and now shit hit the fan. Now you got to clean it up. But it's kind of like getting out of an addiction. Sorry, I was almost about to trip over this log in my mouth really bad. And what I mean by that, I don't know. I guess it's a new term I came up with for just tripping over words. But that's the thing is that whenever we're sitting, oh man, I threw myself off. But whenever we're sitting there and we just can't seem to express ourselves, we just kind of lose sight of everything. I know that wasn't exactly where I was going before, but I guess I tripped over the log a lot harder than I thought. So, um, we're about 30 minutes, over 30 minutes in, and I don't want to keep rambling. I don't want to make someone think that they can't because I'm letting you know right now you can. I don't care what it is. If you believe that you can go do X, Y, Z, I believe you can. If you don't believe you can do ABC, then why do you believe that? Because there's got to be a feeling associated with that because that's how our beliefs work. They work off of our emotions. And so, heads up to anyone out there, if you're trying to suppress one emotion, keep it down. It doesn't work. You push one down, you push them all down, and eventually they'll come to surface. So I highly recommend just sitting with yourself, journaling, doing shadow work, doing, I don't know, for me, tarot, scrying, all different sorts of things for me. But that's the thing is that you can figure out so many different ways to do self reflection, to take a look on the inside. You can even do it whenever you watch your favorite videos, like, or cartoons, anime, whatever, movies. You can do it, but just start asking questions. Like, what is it about that character that makes me think about myself? What is it about that character that makes me think about so and so from my past? What is it about this situation that made me feel a little weird all of a sudden? What is it about? So just do it. Just ask questions. Try to find yourself again because that's our true identity is who we were before all the trauma. That's what we really want to get to. But sometimes it's really, really deep. Sometimes it's not as deep as we think, but we just choose not to look underneath our feet because why would we go where we think we've already been? Whenever we're in that rut, the resisting the urge to transform, we can actually develop a routine. Uh, and some people may hate routine, some people may love it, but I came up with routine because it means recycling old unused energy into new uh something. Damn it. I already forgot it off the top of my head. Recycling old unused some it's really good. I'll have to remember it eventually. I'll reach out to someone in PIR and see if they can remember for me, or just check all my notes. I've got them somewhere. But that's the thing, is that we've got to just switch things up. If we're feeling stuck, just change one thing. One thing is all I'm asking to just make you feel better. It doesn't have to be a grandiose thing. It doesn't have to be, oh, instead of driving to work every day, I'm a walk. Now, if you live really close, that may be perfect. If you live 10 miles away from your place of employment, don't do that. That's probably a bad idea, because your whole day is going to be a lot of walking. But again, if you choose to do that, more power to you. But I'd suggest just one thing in your routine that you switch up. It doesn't have to be eliminated, it doesn't have to be added. Just change how you do it, because the way we do things makes our brain do weird things too. And by weird, I do mean weird, because that's us recreating our neural pathways. It's us recreating who we are in the moment. Moment to moment, we are different. Day by day, we are different. So next time someone asks you, why do you wear all black? It's because I'm mourning the past me. And they're like, what? Like, yeah, like it, but me like 3 months ago would have never said a lot of this out loud. And here we are. So thanks. Yeah. And also, black absorbs all the energies, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so we're just going to go ahead and leave this episode here. I hope you got a little bit out of it. I hope I didn't ramble too much for anyone, but I just want to say, love yourself, love others if you can, but you got to love yourself first. Go and hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this, and like just help us get Retrieving Sanity to become the nonprofit that we're aiming for mental health services, including veteran reintegration. So if you want any part of that, just reach out to me. We'll get something figured out, because I need a board of trustees. If you want in on that, let's figure it out. So with that being said, we'll see y'all in the next episode. And tomorrow we are speaking to Daryl Dittmer. So we're going to find out how to stop hitting ourselves even more, as he tells us his experiences with sobriety and recovery, and maybe how he refound parts of himself that he found by reflection. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening, and I hope that you're able to just get a glimpse of yourself and who you wanted to be before the trauma happened. So with that being said, much love. Shalom.